All right, give me a second. All right, so you're talking about a regular hexagon. Don't forget a hexagon is 6 sides. So you have those words. Let's just go through that real quick. You have a quadrilateral, which is 4. You have pentagon, which is 5. You have hexagon, which is 6. You have septagon, which is 7. You have an octagon, which is 8. A nonagon, which is 9, and a decagon, which is the main words you need to know, which is 10. But just kind of keep that in mind, because again, tomorrow, don't forget you have a test on all this stuff. But again, a regular hexagon means we have to use that n-2 times 180. And so with that, 180 times 4, because again, 6 sides is the number of sides we have. 6 minus 2 is 4, which gives me a total of 720 degrees. And then don't forget you divide that by the number of angles, which is 6. So when you divide that by 6, you end up with 120 degrees per angle is what you're looking for. Just don't forget that what you're supposed to do is, again, find the total number of degrees on the inside by doing your n-2 times 180 and then divide by whatever is there. Remember that on the volume of your prism, you're looking at all 3 dimensions. It's pretty much one face being stacked up. So for example, let's say we're looking at the top face here. So if we have this face that is 14 by 11, so you would do 14 times 11, which we know to be 154. And there are 9 of those stacked up in that direction. So times 9, which gives you 1386. Now here's the thing. In terms of a prism, your volume is just length times width times height. So you could have just actually done 11, which is what we did, but 11 times 14 times 9, which still gives you your 1386. So again, with the volume of a prism, just remember that because it's a basic box anyway, all you have to do honestly is just go ahead and take the 3 dimensions, multiply them, and that'll lead to your answer as you need to. When you want the area of this shape, remember that you're looking for the right angle. That right angle gives me a height and it gives me a length. The 2 numbers that we're using are 11 and 20. 11 times 20 is 220. But don't forget that this is a triangle. And because it's a triangle, it means you want 1/2 of that. So you divide that by 2 to get 110 as your answer there. So again, just be careful when you see your triangle. Remember to cut it in half. That is honestly the only part that a lot of you still kind of mess up on, but so do I. It's a natural thing, because again, when you're not doing it based off of your formula, which is a good thing to do, you just kind of forget to do that sometimes. And at some point you won't forget anymore, but again, at least you know it and you don't need, to memorize some formula to get it. Triangle YAS, YE is 10, YS is 4. So again, in this problem, you should have drawn a triangle. YE is 10, YS is 4, SE is 7, and they want the smallest angle. Remember that your smallest angle is going to be across from the smallest side. E is your smallest angle because 4 is your smallest side. 10 being the biggest side means that S would be the biggest angle. But again, just remember that that relationship does occur that way. In terms of your cross section, remember this means describe the shape. This is a sphere, which means if you looked at it, it would be a circle pretty much extended on itself. So this shape here, which would be your cross section, is a circle. Pardon the writing. But it is just a circle. Again, you're talking about that shape. You're not talking about anything else. You're talking about if we slice through it, what shape would we see? And you would see a circle on that shape. All right. I guess I have a semi-example here with the stuff that we're looking at, or with the stuff my wife has here in her workshop. This is a cylinder type shape. So again, if you look at that, that kind of looks just like that. You can see the top of the pin going down, and if you were to look at it straight on, you would see a circle. So again, that's pretty much what it's saying. What is the shape if we cut straight across the middle of that shape? Don't forget when you go to find the area that you need the two sides. Again, here's your right angle. So you're talking about 9 and 8. But again, you need the two sides to be parallel to each other. So this is the other side you're going to work with. So this is the number we're going to use. But you need to average the other two. So this is the one where you take your 8 plus 15 equals 23. And then divide that by 2 to get 11.5. And that is what you're going to multiply by 9 to get 103.5. So again, hopefully you did that the right way. If not, again, just fix it and go from there. On number 7, don't forget that a trapezoid, if you can identify the size of the trapezoid, the only thing you can really do with a trapezoid is use the consecutive angles thing like you would do here. So again, because the bases are here, it would be like if you split this thing in half. I have actually I have more than a post-it note. I have one of these. So if we were to look only at that side, we would know that if that's 80 and that's M, that these two things add up to 180. So 180 minus 80 would give me 100 degrees for M. If we were to look only at that side, let me move actually it was no mouse, it was all me. But anyway, if we were to look only at that side, you have 120 in N, which means we would do 180 minus 120, which obviously means N would be 60. And that would be the two answers you're looking at. But that's the only thing you can do with a trapezoid. Again, a trapezoid is based off of sides. So that side has its own thing. This side has its own thing. That's really all you can do. So just kind of keep that in mind. Don't forget that this is a setup based off of your sides. So again, 6 over 2, 9 over x. You could also do 2 over x, 6 over 9, as long as you remember to link those things up. Either way, you're going to be fine. You then cross multiply, you get 18 going this way equals 6x going that way. Divide by 6, getting 3 equals x. And that is all there is. All right. Find the value of x in the right triangle below. The x, I think, is there if you have it on your sheet. Don't forget, we know that that's a right angle. We know that's 45, which means that that's 45, which means we have x, and x root 2, which means that since x is already 15, that this has to be 15 root 2. If they give you a decimal form, remember to just type in your 15 root 2 and convert it using that conversion button there to be, no, I hit the wrong button. Of course I did it wrong. 15 square root 2 and then conversion button 21.2. But again, either one of those two things work. Just remember that both of those answers do exist, and because it's multiple choice, all you gotta do is make sure you just check to make sure everything makes sense. Keep in mind that tomorrow it comes down to whether or not you can see it, not whether or not anything else is going on. I know this is kind of hard to see, and I'm sorry. But that is A, B, C, and D. I assume based off what you could see that you can see the A, the C, and the D and understand that that's B. But it says that this is 40 degrees. You've got to remember again that these two angles add up to 180, so that would be 140. And that these two angles here are the same, so that would have to be 40. That is something you want to remember, because remember that there are questions where they give you the information and they give you this and they want that angle, and you want to make sure you remember those two things add up to 180. Or they might give you this and they want that angle, which means you have to remember that those two angles are the same, but that's the relationship you have to keep in mind. Don't forget that on 11, you first off have to find the area of the base. So you're looking at pi r squared for that, which means you're looking at pi, if I can remember where the button is, times 4 squared, which is 16 pi. Again, I can convert that, but I don't even know if I have to. Let's just leave it as 16 pi for right now. But that is the area of that face, and remember you're multiplying it by how many of those things are stacked up, which is times 15. And so 240 pi could be it. It could be converted into 753 point, well, of course it's going to bump up again like it always does, but about 754. But just remember that you want to be ready for both of those answers. You want to be ready for both of those things. That way you're ready to go when everything pops up. Find the area. They give us 3 numbers. But remember that one of these numbers is useless. With the right angle, we're talking about 6. We're talking about 12. That means we don't even care about that 8. And 6 times 12 is 72. You do not cut this in half. And the reason you don't cut this in half is because it is not a triangle, and so you leave it alone. Again, a parallelogram is just like a rectangle. Just go ahead and multiply it and walk away. On number 13, find the area of the circle. Remember that this is not the number you need. You need half of that, which means that we need to use 8. So pi times 8 squared is what we're looking at there. Pi times 8 squared. Again, straighten your calculator, which is 64 pi. Or again, if you convert that, you end up with 201.1 as your answer there. Do not forget on number 14 that when you cross multiply, that 8 has to multiply by both 2x and 5. And 16 times 14, which we can again do in our calculator, is 224. And then from there, you just go ahead and solve. So that'll be 16x minus 40 equals 224. You then add your 40 to both sides, getting 264. You then divide by 16. Give me a second. Getting 16.5. Or again, if 16.5 is not there and they want the fraction, hit the conversion button again, and notice that it'll turn into 33 over 2 for you if you need to do that. So anytime your answer does not match what's there, hit the conversion button, and everything else will do what it needs to do. That is the reason why if you're not, if you know you're going to be trying to take some sort of standardized test, make sure you go out and buy this calculator, because this calculator does so many things for you to help you out and make life kind of easy. On number 15, you're talking about finding the requested ratios. Sine of A. Again, sine of A is, if A is your home, and it is on both of them, that's my opposite, that's my hypotenuse, this is my adjacent. And remember, we're talking about SO, CA, and TOA. So therefore, sine would be opposite over hypotenuse, which is 15 over 17. Cosine would be adjacent over hypotenuse, which would be 8 over 17. So just kind of keep that in mind. Remember, that's what you need to do there. And then on 16, remember that whenever your word is attached to x, you do sine -1 of whatever's over there to get your answer. 21 over 35. And that gives you 36.9. So there you go. So again, with that being the case, just remember that that's what's going on. Tomorrow, again, we will be taking that test for the rest of the year, or pretty much to wrap up the rest of the year. Remember, if you're not here, we are just going to go ahead and give that to you whenever I see you again. So whatever it is, just make sure you study that stuff, and we'll find something else to do for the rest of the year until we kind of wrap this up. Thank you for all the hard work you've done, and I will talk to you later.